They said the footage was gone, that the airport cameras had been offline for maintenance. But Marcus Hale knew every lens in that building. He'd walked beneath them for 22 years. Cameras don't forget, he thought. People do. That night began like any other. The graveyard shift had its own rhythm. The faint buzz of fluorescent lights, the smell of floor polish, the tired shuffle of red-eye passengers chasing sleep. Marcus sipped coffee gone cold and studied the concourse from behind the security glass. Every detail felt routine, until the radio cracked. Gate 17, Officer Hale, respond immediately. He set the cup down. Gate 17 was under renovation, half the lights were dead, and the temporary walls made echoes sharp. By the time Marcus arrived, a circle of restless travelers had already formed. In the center stood a man in an expensive gray coat, arguing with a young flight attendant who looked one sentence away from tears. Marcus stepped forward, the calm in his voice practiced. "Evening, sir. What seems to be the issue?" The man turned, his posture radiating wealth and impatience. "This attendant thinks my passport's fake. Do I look like someone who forges documents?" Marcus extended a hand. "Let me take a quick look, sir. Standard procedure." The passport felt wrong. Too stiff, edges trimmed by a machine that wasn't government grade. The hologram dulled under the gate's light. Marcus glanced at the name. Richard L. Carrington. "Sir, I just need to scan it." Carrington's voice rose. "You're profiling me. Every time I travel through this city, it's the same treatment. You people are unbelievable." Phones lifted. Screens glowed. A whisper ran through the crowd. "They're filming." Marcus knew what that meant. Context would vanish, and the clip would be judged by the first 5 seconds. Still, he kept his tone level. "Please, let's step aside. It'll only take a minute." Carrington yanked his arm free. "Don't touch me." That motion, half second, half mistake, looked violent on camera. Gasps. Someone shouted, "He's arresting him for nothing." And before Marcus could explain, the gate erupted in noise. He managed to guide Carrington to the inspection desk, scanned the passport, and watched the screen flash red. Invalid number. "Sir," Marcus said quietly, "this document isn't recognized. I'll need to call immigration." Carrington's smile was thin. "You've just ended your career, officer." 2 hours later, Marcus sat in a gray interview room surrounded by supervisors and public relations reps. They weren't interested in the forged passport, only the video. A snippet had already hit social media. Black officer detains white executive. Hashtags multiplied faster than facts. A woman from corporate security leaned forward. "We'll handle the press. For now, you're on administrative leave." Marcus blinked. "What about the passport?" "It's complicated," she said. "The federal database shows it as valid now. Must have been a system glitch." A system glitch. Marcus felt the lie hang in the air like static. When he asked to see the gate camera footage, she folded her hands. "All data from Gate 17 is missing due to scheduled maintenance." That's when he knew something was being buried. In the days that followed, news anchors called him reckless. Editorials dissected his tone, his posture, even the color of his uniform. No one mentioned the fake passport. Strangers sent death threats, others sent sympathy cards. And through it all, the airport authority remained silent. At night, Marcus rewatched the viral clip until he knew every frame. He noticed details others missed, the reflection of another man in the glass wall, holding a phone not aimed at the confrontation but at the computer terminal beside the gate. Someone had been recording something else entirely. He drove back to the airport under cover of darkness, parking far from the cameras he once trusted. Inside the maintenance wing, he found the janitor who'd worked Gate 17 that night, an old friend named Louis. Louis hesitated before speaking. "They told us to delete everything, Marcus. Said the system was being upgraded. But I copied the backups before they wiped them." Marcus felt his heartbeat slow into purpose. "You still have them." Louis nodded toward a flash drive taped beneath his mop cart. "Don't say I gave it to you." If you're watching this and you believe the truth still matters, don't scroll away. What Marcus found next proves how deep the cover-up went. Back home, Marcus loaded the files. Most were corrupted, but one clip survived. A 10-second segment showing a man in a suit swapping a passport at the ticket counter before Carrington ever reached Gate 17. The angle caught only a partial profile, but the emblem on the man's lapel was clear, a gold pin belonging to the Port Authority Board. He paused the video. His hands trembled. The board controlled the airport's contracts, its cameras, its narrative. Whoever planted that forged passport wanted him discredited before an upcoming oversight vote. And they'd succeeded. By dawn, news channels reported that Marcus had resigned. He hadn't, but someone inside the system wanted him silent. His email access was revoked, his pension review pending. When he tried to contact the union, the call dropped halfway through. He realized then, this wasn't just about a forged document. It was about a black officer becoming a liability in a structure built to protect the powerful. They thought they'd erased a man. Instead, they awakened a witness. Marcus Hale begins his hunt for the missing truth and the people who paid to hide it. Subscribe so you don't miss what really happened behind Gate 17. Morning sunlight spilled across Marcus Hale's kitchen table, turning the stack of papers before him into a wall of unanswered questions. Each sheet carried fragments of his life, incident reports, employee commendations, complaint forms that had never existed until now. Someone was rewriting his record. He traced a finger down one line. Excessive force. Gate 17. False. Another. Previous disciplinary actions. Non-existent. Whoever was editing his file knew exactly what to delete and what to invent. Marcus wasn't the kind of man to play detective. He believed in structure, in policy, in doing the job right. But the system he'd defended for 2 decades was now bending against him, and it left him with only one option: find proof before they buried him completely. He began with the flash drive. The 10-second clip Luis had saved showed the board member pin, blurred but visible. Marcus slowed the frame, enhanced the still, and cross-referenced old press photos. One match surfaced. Charles Redmond, Deputy Commissioner of Operations, a man known for speeches about equality and efficiency, and for never being where the blame landed. Marcus leaned back in his chair. If Redmond had planted that passport, it wasn't random. It was strategy. That night he called Luis again, whispering into the phone. "Anyone else know about the backups?" Luis hesitated. "They came asking yesterday. 2 men in suits, not airport people. I told them I deleted everything." "Keep it that way," Marcus said. "If they come back, call me first." He hung up and felt the walls close in. Every sound, the hum of the refrigerator, the tick of the clock, sounded like surveillance. He packed a small bag, grabbed his old laptop, and left the apartment. There was one person he still trusted: Tanya Rhodes, a journalist who'd once covered a discrimination case he'd quietly helped resolve. Her reporting had cost her a network job, but she'd built an online following for exposing cover-ups. She met him at a diner on the edge of town, sunglasses pushed up into her hair, a recorder hidden beneath the table. "You know I can't publish hearsay," she said. "I've got more than hearsay," Marcus replied. "I've got a video, and I think I know who's in it." He slid the flash drive across the table. Tanya plugged it into her tablet, watched the clip twice, then looked up. "Where did this come from?" "Maintenance backup," he said. "Gate 17. Then your airport's lying about system upgrades." She leaned closer. "If Redmond's involved, this isn't just about you. It's about contracts, funding, and optics. They can't afford a scandal that proves racism at the top." Marcus's jaw tightened. "They're going to paint me as angry and unstable." "They already are," she said softly. "That's the playbook." Tanya promised to verify the footage through an independent source before publishing. "Give me 48 hours," she said. "And stay low." He didn't get 48 hours. The next morning, a black sedan idled outside his building. Two men waited inside, reading newspapers that never turned a page. When Marcus approached, the driver rolled down his window. "Mr. Hale," he said pleasantly, "Director Redmond would like to clear up this misunderstanding." "Step in, please." Marcus kept his distance. "Tell the director I prefer email." The man smiled without warmth. "That's not how this works." He turned and walked away, heart hammering. The car didn't follow, but it didn't leave either. That evening, his phone buzzed with a message from an unknown number. "Delete the file, last warning." He stared at the screen, thumb hovering over delete, then placed the phone in a drawer and unplugged the router. If they wanted him silenced, he'd make sure his story screamed louder. To understand why Redmond wanted him erased, Marcus had to go backward. 10 years earlier, when the city contracted new security tech, Redmond's department had overseen the bidding. Marcus remembered signing off on a report that questioned the vendor's background, a report that later vanished. That vendor, Skywatch Systems, turned out to be Redmond's brother-in-law's company. He found an archived copy of the contract on a government site and noticed a clause buried deep: maintenance data subject to executive discretion. In plain English, it gave Redmond control over what surveillance footage could be saved or erased. The maintenance excuse suddenly made perfect sense. Marcus emailed Tanya the document with a single line. "Here's your motive." She replied minutes later. "Meet me tomorrow. Don't use your car." They met at an abandoned parking structure downtown. Tanya's hands shook as she held up her phone. "The file's authentic," she said.
"But something's wrong."
"My servers were hit last night. Someone's trying to track every version of that clip. Can you still publish?" "I can, but we need redundancy. If they scrub one site, others mirror it." Marcus looked past her to the skyline. The city he'd sworn to protect. "Then publish everywhere," he said. Before leaving, Tanya recorded him on video, his face half in shadow. "State your name and why you're speaking out." "My name is Marcus Hale. I've served as an airport security officer for 22 years. I'm speaking out because truth shouldn't depend on color or convenience." She pressed stop. "That's your insurance policy," she said. The story hit within hours. Whistleblower alleges racism and corruption inside Port Authority. The clip of Redmond at the ticket counter looped beside Marcus's calm statement. Comment sections exploded, half support, half outrage. Then the retaliation began. His bank account froze. His landlord received an anonymous complaint claiming he was violent. Even his daughter's school called to say concerns had been raised about his background. Every pressure point was being used. Tanya went silent for almost a day. When she finally texted, her message was short. "They raided my office. I'm fine. Go dark." Marcus drove to the edge of the city, parked near an overlook, and sat staring at the horizon. The sun slipped behind the towers, the same towers that housed the people now rewriting his life. He thought about the oath he'd taken: to protect travelers, uphold the law. Nobody had said anything about surviving it. Night settled. He turned on the laptop one more time and began compiling everything. Emails, contracts, backup files, timestamps. He compressed them into an encrypted folder titled Maintenance Log. Then he uploaded it to a public repository with a timer. If he didn't cancel within 72 hours, it would release automatically. When the upload finished, he whispered, "Now we wait." Outside, a car door slammed. Footsteps approached his door. He closed the laptop, heart steady. Whoever came next, he was done hiding. If you're still watching, this is where the real story begins. Marcus thought exposing the truth would set him free. Subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss what happens next. 3 days after the upload, the countdown hit 0. At precisely 7 a.m., hundreds of journalists, bloggers, and civil rights advocates received an anonymous link titled Maintenance Log. Within minutes, servers buzzed as the files spread across the web. The system meant to silence Marcus Hale had just amplified his voice. Inside a quiet motel room, Marcus watched the chaos unfold on a flickering TV. News anchors repeated his name. The clip of Deputy Commissioner Redmond switching passports ran side by side with official denials from the Port Authority. Reporters demanded answers. Protesters gathered outside the terminal, holding signs that read, "Show the footage," and "Justice for Marcus." For the first time in weeks, Marcus allowed himself to breathe. But relief didn't last long. A sharp knock rattled the door. Room 214, housekeeping. He hadn't requested service. Marcus grabbed the drive and slid it into his pocket. When he opened the door, 2 uniformed officers stood there, not airport police this time, but federal. "Marcus Hale?" one asked. "You're under arrest for unlawful disclosure of government property." They moved fast. Cuffs clicked. Cameras flashed from the hallway. Someone had tipped the press. The image of a black whistleblower in handcuffs flooded screens again, almost identical to the airport video that started it all. As they led him away, Marcus kept his head high. "You can lock me up," he said quietly, "but you can't bury the truth twice." The holding facility was cold and fluorescent, the kind of place built to break conviction through silence. Hours passed before anyone spoke to him. Finally, a man in a dark suit entered the room. "Mr. Hale," he began, voice rehearsed, "the federal government takes data leaks very seriously." Marcus met his gaze. "So does the public when it reveals corruption." The man set down a file thick with papers. "We can make this disappear. You resign officially, retract your statements, and the charges go away. You'll keep your pension." "A quiet life?" Marcus almost laughed. "A quiet life built on a lie." "No, thank you," the agent's smile thinned. "Then this will get loud." Very loud. He left, door slamming behind him. The sound echoed like a verdict. While Marcus sat in custody, the city boiled. The leaked documents showed not only that footage had been erased, but that similar maintenance events had hidden at least 4 prior incidents involving minority employees. Local news called it patterned suppression. Civil rights attorneys called it criminal cover-up. Tanya Rhodes, the journalist who had vanished after the raid, reappeared on a live stream. Her hair was messy, eyes burning with exhaustion. "To everyone watching," she said, "Marcus Hale is not a criminal. He's the reason we know the truth. The evidence speaks for itself." Her broadcast went viral within an hour. Donations flooded in for Marcus's legal defense. Hashtags demanding his release trended worldwide. In a corner office high above the city, Deputy Commissioner Redmond watched the coverage in silence. An aide entered nervously. "Sir, the board wants to meet. They're concerned." Redmond's jaw clenched. "Get me damage control. Now." That night, Marcus's lawyer, a young public defender named Jordan Evans, sat across from him in the visitation room. "They're scared," Jordan said. "The Attorney General just ordered a special inquiry. You're no longer their problem. You're their evidence." Marcus frowned. "Meaning?" "Meaning they'll try to trade you. Reduce charges if you testify that you acted alone." "Don't. I wasn't alone," Marcus said. "They built the system that made this possible." Jordan nodded. "Then let's prove it." The inquiry. The hearings began 2 weeks later in a packed municipal hall. Cameras lined the walls. Protesters chanted outside. For the first time, Marcus was allowed to speak freely. He described the night at Gate 17, the forged passport, the glitch, the missing footage. Then he handed over the original flash drive Luis had saved. The chairwoman examined the files and turned to the crowd. "Mr. Hale, do you swear that this material hasn't been altered?" "I swear," Marcus said. "But others did alter official records to protect men who thought a black officer wouldn't fight back." Gasps rippled through the room. When Deputy Commissioner Redmond took the stand, he denied everything. "These accusations are baseless. Hale fabricated the evidence." But then Tanya Rhodes entered carrying a sealed envelope. Inside was a hard copy of Redmond's signed maintenance order from the night in question, time-stamped minutes before the passport incident. The chamber erupted. Redmond's face went pale. Cameras flashed. For the first time, the balance of power shifted. Later that night, Marcus stepped outside into the cool air, free, on bail, surrounded by reporters. One asked, "Do you think justice will be served?" Marcus paused, then said, "Justice isn't a verdict. It's persistence." That line replayed across every network. Within days, Redmond resigned for personal reasons. The Port Authority announced reforms, transparent surveillance protocols, independent oversight, anti-bias training. But Marcus knew policies could change faster than people. He visited Luis at the maintenance wing. "They offering you protection?" Luis shrugged. "They moved me to night shift." "Quieter there." Marcus smiled faintly. "Sometimes quiet is good." They shook hands, the unspoken understanding between two men who'd seen truth nearly erased. Weeks passed. Marcus returned home to find letters waiting. Some from strangers thanking him for his courage, others from officers saying his stand made them rethink their silence. One note simply read, "You made them look again." He placed it beside his badge, now encased in glass, not as a trophy but a reminder of what it cost to speak up. That evening he met Tanya for coffee. She was already writing a book. "What'll you call it?" he asked. She smiled. "Maintenance Log. The story of a system that tried to delete its conscience." They both laughed softly. For a brief moment, the noise of the world faded. Just before leaving, Tanya handed him a small envelope. Inside was a still photo from one of the recovered files. It showed another man at the edge of the frame during the original incident, someone Marcus hadn't noticed before. The label read, "Unknown Supervisor ID number 47. Marcus frowned. "Where did this come from?" "Backup archive I decrypted last night," she said. "Looks like Redmond wasn't the only one." He stared at the image. The story wasn't over. Maybe it never would be. But at least now, the light was on. Marcus Hale thought exposing the truth would end his fight, but corruption runs deeper than one man. In the final part of The Man They Tried to Erase, the last piece of evidence reveals who was really pulling the strings. Stay with us, subscribe, share this story, and stand up wherever injustice hides. The photograph haunted Marcus, that blurred face in the corner of the frame. The unknown supervisor number 47. It wasn't just a random official. The man's stance, his watch, even the way he stood. Marcus had seen it before. But where? He spent nights staring at the image, enlarging it, trying to peel back the pixels as if the truth was hiding beneath. Until one morning, while watching a replay of the inquiry on TV, he froze. There, sitting quietly behind the committee's chairwoman, the same watch, the same posture. Director Alan Crewhead of Internal Security, the man overseeing the entire investigation. Marcus whispered to himself, "You've got to be kidding me." He called Tanya immediately. "Crew was at the gate that night," Marcus said. "He's in the video." Tanya's tone hardened. "Then this runs higher than Redmond. Crew's the one cleaning up after everyone else. That's why files kept vanishing even after the inquiry began." Before they could meet, Tanya's phone went dark. Her number stopped working. That evening, a black SUV idled across the street from Marcus's apartment. A man inside watched him through tinted glass. Marcus knew that look. Surveillance. He decided to move. Fast. He packed the laptop, grabbed the drives, and slipped into the alley behind the building. Rain soaked the city streets, neon lights reflecting off puddles like electric ghosts. Every step echoed like a heartbeat. He ducked into an underground subway tunnel. The sound of trains masked his footsteps. He was done playing by their rules. Deep inside the maintenance tunnels, Luis met him, holding a flashlight. "You weren't followed?" "No time to check," Marcus said. Luis led him to a hidden utility room sealed behind metal panels. Inside, a cluster of outdated computers hummed. "This was Redmond's private backup node," Luis explained. "Every log routes through here before being erased. I've been restoring the fragments." Marcus watched as the old screens blinked to life. Bit by bit, files appeared. Timestamps, memos, video fragments. One showed Crew and Redmond in a private office at Redmond. "What if someone talks?" "Crew, then we make sure the footage doesn't." The air in the room thickened. Marcus leaned closer. "Do we have full audio?" Luis nodded. "And date stamps. This proves Crew authorized the cover-up." Marcus exhaled, almost a laugh of disbelief. "We've got him." Before we uncover how Marcus exposes the man at the top, take a second to subscribe. Every story we tell fights silence, and your support keeps the truth alive. Let's bring this to light together. They knew sending the file to news stations wasn't enough. The networks were still under federal pressure. So Marcus turned to the people directly. At midnight, Tanya resurfaced online through an encrypted stream. Her face was tired but determined. "Tonight," she said, "you'll see what they never wanted you to see." The footage rolled. Crew's voice echoed, "If the footage shows a black officer being harassed, it becomes political. Delete it." The audience gasped in real time. Across the country, viewers watched on phones, laptops, even digital billboards hacked by activists. The clip spread like wildfire. Within hours, federal investigators descended on Crew's office. The reckoning by dawn, Alan Crew was in custody. His calm face cracked under questioning. He tried to deny everything, until Tanya streamed another file. one showing a digital ledger of payouts to suppress whistleblowers. Marcus's name was on that list, marked targeted for discreditation. The final domino fell. Crew Redmond and 3 senior officials faced charges for obstruction, falsifying evidence, and racial misconduct. When Marcus heard the news, he didn't celebrate. He just sat quietly in his kitchen, sunlight breaking through the blinds. Luis entered holding 2 cups of coffee. "You did it, brother," he said. Marcus smiled faintly. "No, we did." He looked at the city skyline. Cleaner somehow, freer. A week later, Marcus stood before a crowd gathered outside the terminal where it all began. Cameras flashed, but this time they captured pride, not humiliation. He stepped to the podium, voice steady. "Months ago, I stood at this gate accused of something I didn't do. I learned that when truth threatens power, they call it disruption. But silence. Silence is the real crime." The crowd erupted in applause. This isn't just my story. It's every story buried behind excuses like glitch, policy, or procedure. Racism doesn't hide in shadows, it hides in systems. But systems can change. When people refuse to look away. As the crowd dispersed, Marcus's phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. "You did well. But this goes beyond airports. Check your inbox." He opened his email. A new file appeared, marked Federal Transit Records 204A. Inside were more hidden logs, more names. He looked toward the horizon, realizing the battle wasn't over. It never really would be, but for the first time, he wasn't alone. He closed the laptop, stepped into the sunlight, and walked forward. If you believe stories like Marcus Hale's matter, if you've ever felt the system was stacked against you, share this story. Let it travel farther than their lies ever could. Subscribe, stay with us, and remember, silence protects the powerful, but truth protects everyone.